And welcome back to AI Today. We have been exploring the new models with ChatGPT 5 and with Claude 4.5. We've been trying to compare and see which one is going to give us the better result. Is a little bit more tailorable. We can interact with it, all based on how our prompts are doing. You saw the detail that I put in there using the prompt playground that I have to really hone in on the message and the information that I want to get in the response that I received back from, these two models. And now both of them are thinking models, right? Both of them are pretty good, context wise from how many, the token size and stuff. And so if you remember before the break, I said, we did a cut and paste. You saw in the Word document that Claude produced a 13.5-page response. GPT-5 produced one that was about 5 pages. It's pretty good. Both of them, pretty good. Just depends on what you're looking for. Now, going into the break, I said, just give me one example. And I told it one example for both of them. With GPT-5, I said, I want you to include one example for retail and e-commerce. And with Claude, I said, I want you to include just one example. And, remember before, if you would try to do something like that before, you would get a completely different response. It would have one example maybe, but if there were certain pieces that you really wanted to get out of it, then forget it, because it would just go all over the place. And you also saw how I was able to cut and paste the whole response, and they give you real tables. That's just the start. So, all right. So just really quick, we asked it specific to do, those examples. Let's see if GPT-5 put the example in that I wanted and where it would put the example, quite honestly. All right. So it didn't specifically call out the example in this case. Let's see what it did in Claude, see how it handled its responses. Well, we can already see that in both cases, it did not do great. I told it I only wanted one example, and what it gave me was a lot of examples, right? Now, is it because my prompt wasn't as specific? Maybe. Is it because I didn't include the first prompt? Maybe. Is it also because maybe it just wasn't listening? Because sometimes I feel that way. You're talking to it, you're asking it to do things, and it just doesn't seem to listen. But in this case, since both of them didn't really listen very well, it was probably my prompt. It's kind of the reasoning you've got to go through. And that balance between what you do prompt-wise, what you have to re-include. Should I have taken the initial prompt and added more specificity to it, more context to it, make a bigger prompt? Maybe. Or should it have remembered the original prompt and then let me do it with this? And again, it's a maybe. Why? Because these models, again, behave different. And, we will continue to explore in part 2 of our show, deep diving into these new models and how they behave and the responses that they give and the prompts that you should use and how you shouldn't use it. But you could see, one, there is a significant difference in the response that you get from the fast model to the thinking model and the extended thinking model in GPT-5. That's very clear. The time it takes, though, is a little bit longer. So on demand is not necessarily the case anymore. With Claude, you saw a significant improvement in the quality and the stability of what that response looks like with the larger prompt that I used. However, gave us 13.5 pages. So maybe it was a little too robust with its response. And so there's a give and take. with these models: cost, complexity, prompt, and how specific your prompt actually has to be, that sub part of the prompts where you've really got to start to improve on them. That's going to drive what your responses are. So I want you to stay with us. Well, I guess you can't stay with us because, this is the end of this segment. This is the end of the show for this week. But next week when we come back, we're going to deep dive and continue to look at new prompting, new things that these models can do. And we're going to continue to show you how you evolve and how you'll be able to use them a lot more, for harder things in your business and start to solve some real problems that you have. So thank you for being here. We'll see you next week. And again, keep playing, keep taking that first step because you're not going to hurt anything. So just keep trying. So with that, we'll see you next week.